All right, here is a video on our meal planning tool. And really, this video is going to be pretty simple. If you have more questions beyond this, if there's specific things to you, um, be sure to jump into our FAQ on this first Sunday of the challenge. When you start getting into the My Coach app, there's going to be some videos on Saturday. It's going to be some videos on Sunday. They're not all the same. So be sure to watch all of these videos as you go through. So let's get through the explanation of the meal planning tool itself. So as you're going along, the top up here has portion sizes for your hand, okay? So your hand for a protein is the palm of your hand, okay? For your fat is your thumb, right? So this end basically is your thumb. And then it says for carbs, it's your fist, but I actually prefer kind of a cupped. So it's the inside of this cup, like tightly cupped, not like, not like this tiny little bit, but, kind of a tightly cupped hand, and the carbohydrates that would fit in that little spot right there. And then for the veggies is your fist, okay? So now that is with your hand. Obviously you keep your hands with you all the time, and they're portioned to the size of your body. And so it really makes things a little bit easier. This is a minimum serving size that I want you to eat, okay? The real serving size that I would love for everybody to get to and eat all this time throughout our whole 6-week challenge are the ones that are actually listed on the left-hand side of each column here. In the blue, yellow, and orange columns, these are the items that you are allowed to eat. So if you come to one of our coaches or to me and you say, hey, I really want to eat X, but it's not on the list, our answer during the 6-week challenge is going to be, sorry, okay? So just know that, all right? Now, when you get to the veggie column, the items that are actually listed there are the veggies that you cannot eat. So you can eat any vegetable except for peas, carrots, corn, any type of squash, including zucchini, eggplant, pumpkin, and beets. And basically the reason why is all of these vegetables are carbohydrate rich. And so if you want to do one of it, let's say for some reason you're super craving some pumpkin, just make it a 1-cup portion and put it into the carbs portion, okay? Otherwise, you want to stick with green and leafy vegetables. So the top ones are asparagus, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, all kinds of lettuces. The darker the green, the better. Anything that fits into that category. And if you have a question about one, bell peppers work. They're not necessarily green, right? But you can have those, spinach, whatever, right? Okay, so those are all the vegetables. Now, as far as, let's scroll up a little bit here. As far as the meals themselves, now each one of you, depending on which meal plan you got, the portions are a little bit different. And we'll talk about it. The meal plan 1.25 actually does not have a fat in the dinner, okay? That does not mean that your meal plan does not contain any fat. It just means that it's limited to about 20 grams a day of carry-on macros on all of the other foods that you eat throughout the entire rest of the day. So it just means that you don't have any added fats, okay? All the other ones will have some yellow in your dinner. It doesn't matter if you have these specifically at, breakfast, lunch, dinner. What matters is you get all of these portions. So you're going to get 5 portions of protein, your 2 portions, or depending on the ratio, but the 2 servings of your carbohydrates and a serving of fats, and then you're getting vegetables throughout the day, right? So you want to make sure that that is happening, especially the vegetables. If people come to me and they're like, hey, I'm having some constipation issues, my first 2 questions are you getting all your vegetables in throughout the course of the day? And are you drinking your water? If you have questions about your water, that's in a separate video in here with our 10-day Get Thirsty Challenge, but that is exactly how I want you to crush your water. So that's in a separate video. So anyway, if you are coming in to work out, because the next line on here says meal prior to workout should be finished 2 hours beforehand. If you're coming into the 5:30 a.m. or one of our early morning sessions, you're not required to get up 2 hours earlier to eat, okay? You're more than welcome to come in a fasting state or have like half an apple if for some reason when you work out you feel nauseous, okay? So don't worry about that, but just about getting up extra early, but make sure that you are you know, accounting for that and accordingly. All right. In here, like let's say we're looking at the breakfast. Okay. One portion equals one portion. I know that sounds silly, but as you go through, like one portion would equal 1.25 cups of egg whites. If for some reason you want to have egg whites and cottage cheese, that means that you would have three, or what is it? Well, didn't do the math in my head. Anyway, so let's say it's 6 egg whites is your serving size for one serving size for egg whites. But you only want to have half a serving size of egg whites because you want to get in some cottage cheese as well. So you do 3 egg whites, and then you do 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese, and that constitutes together, that is one serving. Okay. Now, along those lines, if you hate everything on this list except for cottage cheese, and you want to eat cottage cheese breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 6 weeks, you are welcome to do that, right? Any of these fit, okay? And then the same thing holds true for the carbohydrates. If you want to have 3/4 of a cup of berries, or half of that as well, along with some Ezekiel bread, you just make sure that the portions fit into your meal plan accordingly, okay? If you have some questions, we're happy to sit down with you, help you with that math. Next is our shakes, okay? Those shakes are super important. These shakes that are the snacks in between, they're intentionally a protein, and they are the most important thing. I get people who come through and they're like not getting results. The reason you're not getting results is because you're not eating your proteins, and they're filling in the gaps with their carbohydrates. So if for some reason you have a week where you've lost 2 pounds and you're kind of disappointed in that, make sure you're getting all of your proteins every single day, okay? And that includes these shakes, whey protein shakes, or if you want, you can do a pea protein or a rice protein shake. And it's literally just water and the protein, okay? If for some reason you have a blender and you want to take a portion of your berries and you want to mix that in there to add some sweetness to it, go for it. Just understand that, let's say you have half a portion of your carbohydrates in a meal, you're going to cut that in half. So you're going to have 1/4 of a portion at your lunch, and 1/4 is going to go into your shake in the form of berries, okay? As far as the fruits that are, speaking of berries, because those are the fruits that are listed here, and it also says 1 piece of fruit. Truthfully, it's not just any fruit, okay? It needs to be apples or grapefruit, all right? And the reason is because those are higher in fiber and lend themselves to, burning calories in your body, okay? So the fruits that you can have. Now, I get the occasional people, hey, can I have a cutie because they're easy, all that stuff? Yes, you can, but it is okay-ish, meaning I don't want that to be like every single day. It can be the occasion, like twice a week. Does that make sense? All right. So that's the deal with that. While I'm here on the front page, there's one portion of fat in your dinner, but let's say you want coffee and you normally have cream in your coffee. I'm completely okay with that. If you notice in the yellow section underneath any nuts, it says 4 coffee creamers. So, and that's basically 4 tablespoons of creamer. And so my suggestion, if you want to do some coffee and you want to make sure you have cream in it, you take that 1 portion of fat in your evening and you have that maybe 1 cup or 2 cups of coffee in the morning, if that's how many you normally are used to. And you can put a tablespoon of half and half in there. All right. So it's a fat portion. So make sure that you get some fat in there. Take to half and half, put that into your coffee with some stevia, whatever else. So it's not exactly what you're used to, but it still can satisfy that. Now my suggestion is go watch that water video and stick to nothing but water. But if you need to have the coffee, there's your explanation for that. Along those lines too, if you look in the fat column, it says 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, 2 tablespoons of almond butter, or 1/4 cup of any nuts. Now, if we're completely adherent to the entire meal plan, we're still not getting results. The first thing I'm going to ask you, not the first thing, after we get through things, but one of the questions I'm going to have for you is how tightly are you measuring those nut butters or nuts? and what nuts are they? And I might even just, even if you're perfect tight on exactly all that stuff exactly on, I might ask you to remove those, because nuts are great for nutritional value, but they are very high in caloric value too. So we don't want to, that's a great place to like cut back, right? Okay. So as we're scrolling down underneath the meals, here, this whole section is all the supplements. Now, if people really want to get super aggressive with the 6-week meal plan, you can get all of these different supplements. It can get a little bit more expensive. It's not my intent to do that, but I've had people who've asked me. So here's all of my suggested ones. The one item that's on here that I really suggest you do is the glutamine, right? It can be any brand, and you can have that when all your shakes and like 7 times a day. It is basically an amino acid that helps rebuild tissue in your body, so it'll help you not be sore, okay? All right, underneath that is some samples as far as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then let's go on to the back page of your meal planning tool. This here is your 7-day shopping list. So if, let's say, you're gonna have chicken 7 days in your first week, you're gonna go buy 3 pounds of chicken, okay? Now, when you go buy skinless chicken breast, people always ask me about salt content. I'm completely okay with whatever salt level you are currently at, or even a little bit more. Whatever you're at, as long as it's not some sort of health issue for you and your doctor said, stay off salt, right? That's the caveat. But the reason I bring that up is if you go buy like a 10-pound bag of chicken breasts and they're frozen, that is way less expensive in the very beginning. During weeks 1 through 5, I'm completely okay with that. The reason is most of those pre-frozen chicken breasts and everything are soaked in a saline solution, so they're a little bit higher in salt. And so during that week 6, that last week that we're doing our challenge, depending on what you're doing, whether it's body fat percentage or body weight, you want to make sure you're getting fresh everything that week, because anything that you buy, like even the rotisserie chickens, all that stuff are going to be a lot higher in sodium than you really want them to be, okay? So that's why we're going to go 100% fresh in that last week. All right, and then this is basically all that, like if you want to go, you pick one meal, and let's say you wanted to have 1 day or like 4 days that are chicken and 4 days that are turkey, you're going to go get basically 1.5 pounds of each. You'll have that one meal, but this allocates a little bit extra in each one. So like 4 or 5 ounces, okay? All right, now, along those lines too, when you go for the first time, I'm getting all crazy with my camera here. When you go for the first time, you're gonna buy from all 4 categories, but keep in mind the fats and the carbohydrates are going to store better, so you don't have to buy those categories every single week with a little bit of planning. But you are gonna go buy fresh vegetables each week, and you are gonna go buy fresh proteins each week, or frozen ones, obviously, either way in either category. And that will save time, save money. My advice during the whole challenge is get in and out of the store as fast as possible. So the more time you lag and don't know where you're going and everything in the store, is the more time you're going to end up in the chip aisle buying hot Cheetos. All right. Underneath that is our just some breakfast templates like breakfast, lunch, dinner. Excuse me, breakfast, lunch, dinner. To just kind of what am I going to have in those, just to help you out, right? You can take this template and write it down on a separate piece of paper. You can use this paper, whatever. All right. So let's talk about these flavor add-ons: the mustard, soy sauce, Mrs. Dash, dry spices, rubs, meats, rubs, lemons, balsamic vinegar, salt, pepper, stevia, aspartame, Splenda, and any hot sauce. By any hot sauce, I do not mean salsa. Salsa would effectively count as a carbohydrate. So if you really want to add that in, a serving size is 1 cup of carbohydrates. So that is salsa. All right. So it counts as a calorie, it counts as a carbohydrate. But any hot sauces, my favorite one on here are the dry spices, because you can really crush that. And you will be able to do, my favorite ones are paprika, smoked paprika, chili powder, chipotle chili powder, salt, and pepper. You could make eggs and spinach taste like 45 different ways. And this is only a 42-day challenge. So like just super awesome. All right, a couple other things about those. If you notice, there is salt and pepper and soy sauce. Like I said, I'm not overly stressed about your sodium intake. unless of course your doctor is giving you some sort of restriction. And then except for that last week, and there's a lesson in that last week about how, if we're going to cut weight in that last week, because I want you to maximize your 6 weeks results, then you're going to want to cut your sodium in that last week. If for some reason you are going for the body fat percentage, you are hyperhydrating that last week, which is the exact opposite of dropping your weight number. Okay. And balsamic vinegar. Balsamic vinegar itself tastes great. It's awesome. You know why we love it? It's because it's pretty high in sugar. So if you want to get a little more aggressive with that, you could do red wine vinegar, and that is a great option. Okay. So here is, in order of awesomeness, your beverages. Okay. It's going to be water, black coffee, green tea, sugar-free or cream-free iced tea, Crystal Light, diet soda, Mio flavored water. Mio is that little flavors you squirt it in, right? Anything, and here's the deal. For beverages, the key is I want to make sure that everything you're drinking is calorie-free. So if it's calorie-free, it's okay by me. That means water, black coffee. Now, I did already talk about coffee and putting in the fat creamer. Of course, that counts as a part of your serving size for your meals, right? So, but I want everybody to avoid adding calories to their meal plans with drinks. That includes not having kombucha and other things that kind of come across as healthy. That juicing, no good. All that stuff, no good, right? Your vegetables, your fruits, if you have them, need to have the fiber in them to qualify for the 6-week challenge. All right. All right. So that is the overview. I feel like I've talked forever. Need to go get some water. So if there's any questions, obviously come to any of our coaches. Your accountability coach will be getting in touch with you, making sure you have all the understandings of this in the whole world. The key is follow it. The last but not least, make sure that you are measuring everything. My advice, measure everything, every meal, every single time for the entire 6-week challenge. If you can't do that, especially do it for the first 6 days or 6 to 10 days, because then at that point, you will start to get used to what that looks like. All right? All right. Thank you so much, and I will catch you later.